This is the Glen Macnow Retirement Show. Sports Radio 94 WIP.
5'6", 140 pounds, undersized kid with a ratty, scraggly Santa Claus outfit. Terrible little costume. But they go up to him, and they pull him, and they say, listen, our Santa didn't show up. You want to be the guy. And here comes this lousy little Santa running down the field. So they start to boo. And all of a sudden, Santa Claus is dodging and ducking, and there's a full stadium full of people just wailing away at Santa Claus.
I think that's one of your legacies, Glenn. I really do. The idea of putting to bed the stereotype of that accompanied Philly fans threw snowballs at Santa Claus. You really worked to change people's perception of that.
Thank you. And I always hated that. Fan base throw snowballs at Santa. That was 1968. Do the math. 56 years ago, for God's sakes. And it lives on. I wrote a book with Anthony Gargano, the Great Philadelphia fan book, and found the guy who played Santa and talked to him and really did some research into it. Yeah, it's a bum rap we got. So I was always trying to stand up for this city in that regard.
I give you credit. You have held it together for the 2 hours and 51 minutes.
Hey, I appreciate everything you did. I really do.
Well, look, when you asked me 2 years ago to partner with you on this show, I was well aware of, number one, whose shoes I was filling in Ray Dittinger, and needless to say, the only person who wears bigger shoes in the greater Philadelphia area than Ray is Joel Embiid. And I was also aware of the responsibility in a weird way that came with co-hosting this particular show with you. Look, sports talk radio is about fun. Sports is about fun. But as I said at the top of the show, there is something about Saturdays and Sundays from 10 to 1 on this station that are it's just a little bit different. And you and Ray in particular made it that way. You made it a little calmer, a little smarter, a little more accessible, a little more enjoyable. And I was honored, genuinely honored, when you called me up and asked me to join you on this show. I have enjoyed every single minute of the last 2 years of partnering with you on Saturdays. My wife says it all the time. I practically run out the front door at 8:30 every Saturday morning to drive down here to do this show with you. You have shown me the ropes. You showed me how to get out of breaks, how to deal with callers who you can't get off the air, how to tease a next segment, how to balance entertaining people with that kind of, to use Angelo's word, journalistic integrity that I want to maintain with the show and that you brought to the show for all these years. So it has been my absolute pleasure both working with you and, I think more importantly, to be able to take a relationship in which we were friendly acquaintances to being genuine friends. And I look forward to meeting up with you in Havertown or somewhere in Bucks County or maybe Conshohocken Brewing Bridgeport to have a couple of beers and find out how your family's doing, find out how you're doing, because even though this is technically an ending, it's, for you, I think, really a beginning to a new stage and a new chapter of your life that I think is just going to be wonderful. So thank you for the last couple of years. Thank you for your friendship, and I wish you nothing but the best.
Well, thank you. So I wrote down a few things. I did the math recently and figured that I've hosted about 6,500 shows on WIP over the years and been on the air for more than 25,000 hours. That's a lot of chatter. I've had the opportunity to interview championship coaches and MVPs and former presidents and the guy who sang Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. I broadcast 2 championship parades, just 2, should have been more. I got hit by a flying beer can at Wing Bowl. It's a lot of thrills. World Series champions and Stanley Cup heartbreak, watching our city fall in love with a skinny little basketball player who took the Sixers to the finals, getting cursed out by Jim Fregosi and Joe Banner and Ed Snyder and Bobby Clark. Good times. But I've said this before, it was never the players or the coaches or the GMs who I really cared about. It was the fans. It was the great listeners to this great radio station, taking your calls, chatting with people at the ballpark, hosting the Eagles pregame show in January 2018, sharing the stage with Ike and Ray and Dave Spadaro and the Pep Band, conducting thousands of crazy people singing that fight song before they went in to witness Nick Foles perform Magic. I am so lucky. If I had not been on that stage, I would have been in that sea of green, screaming just as loudly. I got hired at WIP in 1993 because Angelo Cataldi vouched for me. He is the first person I really do want to thank. He really helped. They paired me with Jody McDonald, who understood everything that I didn't about talk radio and was gracious about breaking in a partner who was flailing around trying to figure out what worked. Jody's the second person I'll thank. Jody and Angela were among a group of pros when I arrived. Al Morganti and Tony Bruno also in the morning, Steve Fredericks and Mike Missinelli in the afternoon drive. It was a hell of a lineup, and I was just proud to be an add-on to those who built this station. 24 hours of sports talk. It was an idea then, and it became a local institution. I've paired with wonderful partners over the years. Jody is just one of the smartest and funniest guys I know. Jody we used to refer to as a true man of the 90s, and he's still elite at this job in the 2020s. Anthony Gargano and I did 2 stints together covering about 8 years. We did not always agree, but it was always good radio, and he was always a fan-first guy. The last couple of years, I had the pleasure of working with the best sports columnist in the city. I'll take credit for one thing. When they asked me in 2022 who I wanted as a partner, I knew that Mike Sealski was the right guy. I cannot take credit for how Mike has mastered this medium, the creativity he brings, or just knowing how much fun we would have together. I will miss you, pal. I really will. Anybody else? Oh, Ray. Ray, where's Ray? There you are. As I said when you retired, 21 years of shows together, and we never had an argument. We started as colleagues, and we ended up as great buddies, and I cherish that. I really do. I'll add one more. My writing partner, my pal, the late Big Daddy Graham, a prince of a guy who I miss all the time. When I worked nights, we would have these 20-minute crossovers starting at 1 a.m., and I never met anybody who looked at the world the way he did, as Ray said. I loved writing books with Big Daddy. What a great creator of content he was. I thank the management of WIP, from Tom Bigby, who hired me. He was a tough, nasty SOB, but he was a radio genius. Tom Lee, Andy Bloom, you heard from before. Andy rescued me from nights, put me on afternoon drive. Mark Rayfield, Spike Eskin always treated me well. Where's Dave Yadgaroff? A mensch, just a mensch. And Rod Lakin, who gave me the latitude to run my show the way I wanted, even as the nature of this industry was changing. I really appreciate everything. I do. I realize I'm a dinosaur. What's on the station these days is vastly different from what we created all those years ago, and that's okay. I remember when I started, some of the old heads in the business said that our style was silly, that it wasn't going to last. So I don't want to be that guy shaking my fist at clouds. I wish all success to all my young colleagues moving forward. A special thanks to my producers over the years. You heard them earlier, many of whom are here. I am touched. Andy Roth drove in from Cleveland to be here. Andy used to scribble down unreadable ideas on scrap paper during shows that Jody and I were doing and hand them to us in the middle of the show. We had no idea what he was trying to convey. Raheem Verdon, who I froze at night, put in the thermostat at 61. Rhea produced my very first show at WIP, went on to become a star, one of the station's most talented on-air personalities. And some behind-the-scenes people whose name you haven't heard. I just want to shout out to David Helfrich and Brian Cole and Walter Kosk and Ben Hill, Jill Speckman, Big hug to Cindy Webster. I know I'm leaving some out, but I appreciate all the people that aren't known by the public who make this station work every day. This job, this job gave me so much and opened up outside opportunities for me to write books, for me to teach college classes, which I loved, to host 2 TV shows, to get involved in a brewery, to put together stage shows. By the way, come and see Ray and me and Joe Conklin at the Ardmore Music Theater. September 18th. For tickets, go to taxr.com. My last plug, my final plug on WIP. Ray, I got it out. I will miss it all. I will miss the stupid football bets and the food hunts and who's that guy and what we're watching and the movie club for men and tell us your story and all those bits and jokes that we did, all the things we did, some of it substance, some of it just goofy ways to share fun with listeners. It's tough to step away because I still love this job. The prep is harder than it used to be. The prep's a lot of work, but the 3 hours on air with Mike or with Jody, always still a blast, and I will miss that. But it's time for me. I want to travel. I want to write. I want to do more acting in local theater. My dad is here, the great Marv Macnow. Half of Philadelphia are Buffalo Bills fans because of when I talk about my dad. My dad took me to my first Bills game in 1966. He's still waiting for a Super Bowl win. Dad, they'll get there. They will. I want to hang out with him and hear all the great stories of his amazing life and then write them down so that his grandkids and great-grandkids can read them. My littlest grandson, Gregory, is here. You heard him on the mic with his dads, Alex and Nathan. I got 2 more grandsons who will get to see more Pops than they may wish. My wife, Judy, supported me through all the ups and downs of this job and all the Saturdays and Sundays when there may have been something that she wanted to do. I just can't think of a better partner to move forward with. And that's where I'm the luckiest. I just married so damn well. I remember telling my wife when I got hired for this thing, I don't know if this is going to last, but I think if I get 5 years out of it, it'll be worth it. And, honey, we made it. And lastly, I do want to thank the listeners. As I said back in April when I retired, and I know I've said it a couple more times when I've been interviewed recently, radio is a very personal medium. You invite us into your lives, and even if we've never met you, there is a relationship there. The guy who called earlier and said that as his father was sick in the hospital, passing away, they would listen to our show. I appreciate that so much more than you can ever know. WIP and its audience are a community, and thank you for letting me be your friend. My old jingle you heard earlier when I worked nights used to refer to your good pal Glen Macnow, and I hope that I have lived up to that. And so you let me into your home, into your cars, into your earpods for 31 years. And now to quote my old friend John Chaney, excuse me while I disappear.
94 WIP HD1 Philadelphia. Live from the Tasty Cake Studios. Sports Radio 94 WIP.